Imagine this. You're in a final round interview. Everything has gone well. Then the hiring manager leans forward and says, "Tell me about a time you had a conflict at work." Most candidates think this is a storytelling question. It's not. It's a risk assessment question, and most people fail it in under 60 seconds.
Why do you say risk assessment? That sounds heavier than just testing teamwork.
Because that's exactly what it is. When you describe conflict, you're revealing how you behave under pressure, whether you escalate, whether you blame, whether you lose emotional control. The interviewer isn't evaluating the conflict, they're evaluating you inside the conflict.
So give me an example of a bad answer. What does failure sound like?
A common one goes like this. In my last job, my manager was extremely controlling. He kept changing requirements and publicly criticized my work. I eventually pushed back in a meeting because I felt undermined. Things were tense after that, but I had to stand up for myself.
That sounds honest, though. What's wrong with it?
It's emotionally loaded. Words like controlling, undermined, had to stand up for myself. It frames the speaker as a victim. There's no accountability, no solution, no reflection. It suggests they escalate conflict publicly. From a hiring perspective, that's a liability.
So if they're not asking who is right or wrong, what are they actually testing?
4 things. First, composure. Can you describe tension without reliving it emotionally? Second, ownership. Do you see your role in the situation? Third, resolution skill. Did you move towards a solution or towards escalation? And fourth, discretion. Did you handle it professionally or create unnecessary drama?
That's a lot hidden inside one question.
Exactly, which is why structure matters. The strongest answers follow 4 steps: context, responsibility, resolution, and growth.
Break that down.
Context. Describe the situation neutrally, focusing on the business issue. Responsibility. Acknowledge your contribution or your initial reaction. Resolution. Explain the specific actions you took to address it. Growth. Show what changed in how you operate moving forward.
Let's test that with a simple example. Say you're a junior employee and a coworker keeps missing deadlines.
Weak answer. My coworker kept missing deadlines, which delayed my work. I got frustrated and escalated it to our manager.
Blame and escalation.
Exactly. Now the structured version. Context. During the cross-functional project, delays in the initial phase were creating bottlenecks. Responsibility. I initially assumed the delays were due to poor time management, which created frustration on my end. Resolution. Instead of escalating, I scheduled a one-on-one conversation and discovered he was struggling with a new reporting tool. We built a shared tracking template and aligned on interim check-ins. Growth. That experience reinforced the importance of clarifying before assuming.
That sounds significantly more mature. It shows initiative instead of complaint.
And it signals something important. You move towards resolution before escalation.
Okay, but what about a manager conflict? That's harder. There's a power imbalance.
Good. That's where most candidates panic. Weak version. My manager constantly micromanaged me and didn't trust my decisions. I felt suffocated.
That definitely sounds risky.
Strong version. Context. In one role, my manager had a very detail-oriented review style, which meant frequent revisions and feedback cycles. Responsibility. Initially, I interpreted that as a lack of trust, which affected my motivation. Resolution. I requested a clarification meeting to understand expectations and asked which areas required detailed oversight versus independent execution. We agreed on defined checkpoints instead of constant review. Growth. Since then, I proactively clarify expectations with stakeholders early to prevent friction.
That's subtle but powerful. You didn't attack the manager, you adjusted your behavior.
Exactly. You show maturity under hierarchy.
Let me push this further. What about cross-team conflict? Different departments, competing priorities?
Another common failure zone. Weak answer. Marketing kept changing requirements and it made our technical work impossible.
Blame again.
Structured answer. Context. In a product launch, marketing and engineering had different timelines and risk tolerances. Responsibility. I realized I was prioritizing technical perfection over launch timing without fully appreciating commercial pressures. Resolution. I initiated a joint alignment session where we mapped dependencies and defined minimum viable scope. Growth. It taught me to balance technical standards with business urgency.
That sounds like someone who understands trade-offs.
And that's what senior interviewers look for. Judgment.
Speaking of senior, what about high-level strategic disagreement? Say you disagree with company direction.
Weak answer. I didn't agree with leadership's new strategy and felt it was short-sighted.
That sounds oppositional.
Exactly. Strong answer. Context. Our company shifted from enterprise clients to mid-market expansion. Responsibility. I initially struggled with the pivot because my expertise was deeply rooted in enterprise sales. Resolution. I presented data outlining potential enterprise retention risks while also proposing a hybrid strategy to support the new direction. Growth. That experience refined my ability to challenge strategy constructively while remaining aligned with leadership decisions.
So you demonstrate dissent without rebellion.
Precisely. Mature professionals can disagree without destabilizing.
Let me ask something uncomfortable. What if the other person truly was unreasonable? Are we just reframing reality?
You're reframing focus. Interviews are not truth tribunals, they are predictive assessments. Even if someone else behaved poorly, you're evaluated on your response. High-level professionals control their reactions regardless of the other party's behavior.
So the conflict story is less about the other person and more about your operating system.
That's exactly right.
So how do you choose the right story then? What should people avoid?
Avoid anything involving HR investigations, personal attacks, or unresolved drama. Avoid stories where the solution was quitting or someone being fired. Avoid highly emotional narratives. The best conflict stories are professional disagreements with constructive outcomes.
So low drama, high professionalism.
Yes, and here's the critical insight. Senior interviewers don't expect you to avoid conflict. They expect you to metabolize it productively.
That's a strong phrase.
Because conflict is inevitable in meaningful work. What differentiates average professionals from high-value hires is not the absence of tension. It's their behavioral discipline inside tension.
So if someone answers this question poorly, what does it signal?
It signals emotional impulsivity, blame orientation, weak communication habits, and escalation risk. And no hiring manager wants to introduce that variable into their team.
And if they answer it well?
It signals composure, accountability, negotiation skill, and leadership trajectory.
That reframes the entire question.
It should. Tell me about a conflict is not about the past. It's about forecasting your future behavior under stress. If you structure it correctly, you don't just pass the test, you demonstrate executive temperament.
So the real takeaway?
Conflict reveals character, and in an interview, character is currency. If you can show that pressure sharpens your judgment instead of destabilizing it, you become a safe investment. And hiring decisions at their core are investment decisions.